Are you ready? I'm Vin.
I'm Sori.
And this is Silent Waters.
AMORPHIS.
For the big homie, Kai. One of my best friends in the world. Meet him. So, Sori and I are planning a European trip.
Yeah.
And one of the things that we're going to do is, well,
apparently Vin's been planning it, but he invited me. That was cool.
Yeah, you're invited. So Kai and I are actually going to go take a walk in the woods.
Yep.
In Finland. So me and him are going to take a nice long stroll in the woods.
Rude.
And Sori and Stephen A. from our, who's kind of like a member of our band, is going to take Sori to a couple beaches in the Arctic. That has nothing to do with this song, but anyway, we just wanted to talk about it. So anyway, this was requested by the big homie Kai. Now, if you did listen to it like your song review, the process is very simple. $1 to gets you in a Patreon.
Yep.
You get to join a wonderful alliance. I'm sure you've seen the alliance picks we've done in the last couple days, weeks, whatever. And then you pull your points together. That determines what song we do. If you're a filthy capitalist like Sori and you don't want to be part of an alliance because you want to do your own thing, $125 gets you straight to the head of the line. You do that 3 times, you get knocked down on $75 rate. Kai is definitely at the $75, 100%. And so you do that, and then you get your song reviewed without having to join an alliance. That's vinandsorimerch@gmail.com on PayPal. Having said that, Silent Waters by AMORPHIS. Oh, by the way, we're starting another channel because we're chronicling our Amazon journey because we're standing up an Amazon store for Mr. DL Beluga. And so we're doing it together as a family, and we've hooked up with an Amazon coach specialist or whatever, and so we're doing a reality basically show journey of it, and there's some very interesting moments because it's a very difficult process. It's not easy at all, but it's going to be worth it in the end. So
I'm still growing in patience.
Yeah. It's called. It's going to be called. Should we say the name right now?
I don't know. Name it Tribulations. Let's go.
Amazon Confidential is the name of the channel. We'll be putting links and all that jazz in the description. Having said that, though, Silent Waters AMORPHIS. Let's go. That's based on that
story. Yeah. First of all, Kai, I don't know how to pronounce it. I was calling it the Kavala when I was reading it to the kids. But I think that this one is the story, like, basically, this is just the gist of it. There was this guy, and I think he was trying to get this girl, and, like, all along the process, like, he ran into some trouble. And then he ends up getting, like, I think chopped up into a bunch of pieces and thrown into the water. And his mother creates a rake and rakes the whole bottom until she collects all of his pieces and then puts them back together. And I think she calls, don't quote me on this, I think, well, Kai's here. I think she calls on, like, the sun or something to, like kind of, like, bring him back after she, like, collects all his pieces and puts him back together. And he comes back. Is that basically... the story?
That sounds so much like Semiramis.
Is that basically the story, Kai?
Semiramis and whatever, where he died and then she found his phallus and blah blah blah.
Well, yeah, it reminded me of that one too.
Yeah.
That's why when I was reading it, I was like...
But did he, like, come back to life?
He did, yeah. Yep.
Man, that's there's certain things and themes or whatever that until you have a child,
that's exactly,
like, you just don't get it.
What I was thinking. And honestly, it's not just a child, but, like, there are differences between, this is my opinion, there are differences between male and female energies, and the energy that my daughters put off is different than the energies that my sons put off. And so, like, this, like, the mother, like, doing that and creating a rake and raking the entire bottom of that, like, that, can you imagine, like, if that was actually something that you could do, how much work that would be?
Right.
But, like, absolutely doing that without any question. Like, if it was possible for me, even if it wasn't possible for me to rake the entire bottom of the lake, but it was possible that if I did, I could bring my son back to life, then I would absolutely throw everything I had into scraping the bottom of that lake to bring him back.
Yeah, there's a story in the Old Testament of this woman.
Bee helps her? What's bee? The bee? Like a literal bee? I don't remember that part. I don't remember that part.
There was actually a song from AMORPHIS that we reviewed about a bee.
It was.
Cavella or whatever it was. But there's a story in the Bible, you know, Elijah is basically rooming with this lady, and she's not part of Israel or whatever, but she was basically about to die because there was a famine, and he said, give me something to eat, and she's like, I got nothing, but I'll split half of my nothing with you and we'll die together. Mm-hmm. And so basically Elijah rewards her, basically says, when I come back next year you'll have a son. And she's like, come on, I'm not even...
Is she the same one where the oil and the flour never ran out after?
Yeah, that was her. So he goes, I come back, you'll have a son. She's like, please. Well, sure enough, she has a son. She conceives a son. And then Elijah comes back to visit them, to check on them. And the son, by this time, he's like 5-6 years old. He's out in the field with his dad. He complains of a headache, and then he collapses and dies. And then the mom goes to Elijah and say, didn't I tell you? She said, I didn't ask you for a kid. Right? Like, I didn't ask you for this. Now he got this. Now he's dead. And Elijah goes up there and heals him or whatever. Mm-hmm. But unless you have a kid, I was talking to one of them a couple days ago. We were taking a drive. And he was talking about what was going on with him when, his mom left. Mm-hmm. And, he had thoughts of, suicide and all this other stuff.
Yeah.
And he said us as a family kept him together because he couldn't do that to us, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And, it's one of those things where you want the kids to be, open and honest. So I just kept, I was like, oh, okay, well, that's cool. That's cool, man. But it's like, it's just the worst thing, man, as a parent, to imagine that happening to any of your kids.
Ugh.
It's just and it's just, man, there's a lot of, I'm a Christian. I've always, been a Christian. But there have been a couple times, man, where I'm like, you got that one wrong, though. To God, like I feel like, those kids, man. They, we were supposed to play football with them on Christmas because Christmas fell on a Monday, and everybody had the day off, and so there was a Christmas Eve party that was happening on. So it was a Saturday, and Tim was like, "Oh, come on, man." They used to call me preacher because I used to put stuff on my MySpace or whatever. And, they used to call me preacher. They, come on, preacher. I'm like, nah, man. Yeah, I'm good. He's like, come to the party, bro. Come to the party. I'm like, nah, I'm good. He's like, yeah, we're going to get you smoked up. We're going to get you drunk, blah. We're going to have some girls, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, yeah, I just had a kid. I'm married. Like, I'm good. They're like, man, whatever. I was like, I'll see you guys Monday. And he's like, yeah, man, I'll see you Monday. The little pound, whatever. And as I was walking away, like, the line popped into my head. These kids think they're going to live forever. Like, that popped into my head. And so I get a phone call on Sunday after church, man. And, like, all of them are dead. They went to the party, got drunk, got high, got behind the wheel. And they were doing, like, 78 down there. And they clipped another car. And all their friends in the back had to go get them. Scraped them out of the car. And they were initially like, oh shit, we're in trouble, Mike's in trouble, because Mike was driving. When my brother graduated high school, literally, the dude was literally right behind him on, like, the way up. Like,
that's crazy.
Yeah. Mike Neuer, and all these people that I worked with. And, like, so that happened. I just came back in from church. I get this, literally as I open the door, I pick up the phone. There's all this yelling and screaming. And he's like, yo, Matt didn't make it, blah, blah, blah. And there was all this screaming that the line disconnected. I couldn't process anything. I said, what? Tim's on the phone. I'm like, what happened? He's like, yeah, man.
Jeez.
He's like, Matt didn't make it. I'm like, what are you talking about? I said, Tim, it's not that deep, bro. We'll play without him. Because I'm thinking, whatever. Because we had the football game the next day.
Right.
Football. So the party was on Saturday. They got in a car accident, early Sunday morning or whatever. And I couldn't process it. It was like 9/11, We saw that shit. It was like, oh shit, there's a plane at World Trade Center. Oh shit, the building's coming. Like, I couldn't, like, he's like, nah, man. He's like, listen, there was an accident. And, like, as soon as he said that, bro, like, I knew it. Everybody in that fucking car died, bro. But Matt had brain damage or whatnot, and so he was, like, holding on just long enough for his mom and his twin brother to go squeeze his hand before he died. And then Kenor's dad on fucking Christmas Eve had to go and identify his...
yeah. Oh my gosh.
And, like, I just remember, like, you got this wrong. This is wrong. I just remember telling God, like, you're wrong for this shit. Because Dorian had just been born. Dorian was born in October. And that happened in December. And I just remember it's like, wow, I had my son, you know what I mean? And I'm like, I remember I was just holding him, man. I was just like,
oh my gosh.
And thinking to myself, like, when you hold your kid and all the hopes and dreams you have of the kid, and like now their kid's dead and you have to identify him on fucking Christmas Eve, I was just like, you're so wrong for this. Like, how could you let this happen to these people? Like, there's only been a couple times in my life, and I've seen, I think people can pretty much put it together. I've seen a lot of terrible shit, but Dad having to do that on Christmas Eve, man. It was just hard. It was a horror. It was really just bad.
I absolutely can't imagine, especially, having all the kids that we have. Holy moly. Like, so in this story, she gets help from a literal bee. The bee goes to the halls of Valhalla and brings back honey from the gods. And that's what brings her son back. So here's Kai's messages. How would you pronounce that?
Wanted to marry the Lemon Conan is the best I can do. Wanted to marry the daughter of Louhi, but she made him
do impossible tasks
before she could marry her.
Yeah, and then
he ended up.
The last task was to kill the swan of the underworld in the Finnish mythology.
He failed, and he was ambushed and hacked into pieces, thrown in the river of Tuni, the river of death.
See.
Yeah.
And his mother sewed his body back into one piece, and the bee brings the healing honey from the halls of the god Yuko.
And then he's able to.
Yeah, didn't he?
And then he came back to life.
Yeah, he came back to life. Didn't she give him, like, she was giving him impossible tasks, but didn't he find a way to, like...
He did them all, but then the last one was...
I don't know if she kept adding more or what.
Yeah.
There was something about, like, a box and hidden in the side of a mountain or something like that. But...
That's just a crazy... It's just one of those things where it's like... That's the wish of every mother who's... lost a child,
Oh my gosh, that you could bring them back.
That you could bring them back, And,
yeah.
Jordan Peterson was talking about, that sculpture with Mary holding Jesus's, dead body or whatever. And he was saying it was the greatest piece of art of all time ever. Which, of course, how do you measure something like that? But I think as Protestants, like the denigration of Mary as a mother of Jesus, like that she was just some regular person, like she didn't have a special, like that completely, like takes out one of the more important pieces of the story. Because I don't believe that Mary knew the resurrection was forthcoming. All it said was a sword will pierce your heart also. There's no like, and he's going to rise from the dead, you're going to be okay. So that's where, so like she's got to hold her dead son, and she's got to, it's just the worst possible.
I mean, for heaven's sakes, even if I knew Orion was coming back from the dead, but I got to watch him go through all that torture and crucifixion. Like, yeah, you'd be glad that he was coming back from the dead, but you want to see your kids suffer like that?
I get you, but that is a much better thing to have to deal with than to deal with the idea that that's the final, that's it, you're never going to see him again, you're never going to talk to him again, like that's just it's insufferable. And it's just a beautiful story. That's just, and the my child, my son, the lyrics are very, very simple, but there's been millions and millions and millions and millions and millions of moms and dads that have had to do that shit.
Gosh.
And, when I was a kid, I was suicidal. I played around with a lot of stuff, and I was out on the streets doing dumb shit, and I was breaking curfew, and there's one time my mom was like, if you don't come home by this time, you need to stay wherever you are. And, this is New York City. And I was like, all right, cool. Okay. So I stayed with my girlfriend at my girlfriend's place. And my mom called the cops on my girlfriend's mom and had them show up to my girlfriend's work. I was 16.
Yeah. Well.
And I was like, Mom, what are you doing? I was like, what are you doing? I'm like, you told me to stay out. Of course, she wasn't going to say, like, I was scared to death. You terrified me. She always used to tell me, she's like, I was certain I was going to get a call from the police that you were to pick you up at the morgue. Like, but I didn't understand that about, I didn't get it until I held my child for the first time. And I was like, oh, look, that would never happen. I would never, ever, ever let the kids ever even do. I wouldn't even. That would not happen. Like I would, they barely can, check the mail without me being like, yo, like. Yeah, so it's just hard. It's hard to, because you listen to these songs, you look at the lyrics, and you're like, oh, it's like listen to what they're saying though, and like mythology, whatever. There's a reason that myths are there in the first place. Like, they're addressing something in human psychology, right?
Right.
Whether you look at it as archetypal or what, I don't care how. It's like, so we read through so many things sometimes, and we just like, oh, okay, then he died, and she put him back together. It's like, no, like, think about it, and think about the circumstance, and think about, you know, what it means and all the rest of it. Like, there's a lot of human suffering, man. You can't just like overlook that stuff, man. So it's a good song, and you know, it's a simple song, but it's just deep. And I love the more and more. This is another reason, because people are talking about Varg in the chat, because we're doing like a live simulcast as we're recording this. People talking about this Varg guy, and he's basically a white, you know, European nationalist, whatever.
Yeah.
But the thing that I love about people in that group is they're so like attached to their culture. Like they know their culture, they know the background, and they're proud of it. And I get it. It's not good. Obviously, I don't believe white supremacy is good, but I do believe that like all the modernism and postmodernism and everybody's trying to say, oh, we're all the same. It's like, no, man, they've got a badass culture that they developed and that they nursed and they gestated and they brought to the world, and like, yeah, we're all the same human beings, but we've got so many different cultures, and it's just amazing. European culture is amazing because it's so deep, and it's so like, you know, American culture is like 150, 200 years ago, and like there's a whole melting pot thing, and I get it, and it's great. But we don't have like those like roots that go under the tree for centuries. Like, there's no home tree in America. Like, and that's not, you know, I'm not dissing them. I'm just saying, like, I
think that's why that 21 thing where you could find out where you came from became so popular.
Yeah.
You know, there was a certain point in time where that thing blew up.
Right.
And I think that's because there was a lot of people yearning for the roots that they used to have. What are my roots?
Yeah, who are my fathers, and what did they believe in? What are the stories?
Where did I come from?
And every culture is dominated by the stories that are told.
Yep.
Like that is history, literally. Like, everything is about the story that's told. So, like, I get it, you know, whatever. But I love the fact. I love that you know, there's this church in America, and it's again, it's a white supremacist group. And they're like Nordic whatever, and only white people are allowed in the church, and so there's this big thing, and they had to get approval, and of course they got the approval. Look, if Umar Johnson can have an all-black school and no white people can come, and nobody has a problem with that, like, again,
it's not the same. Not the same.
Well, it's just,
you guys were not persecuting us. It's not the same.
Yeah, but these people, like, they're going back to their European roots, and they're trying to like establish. And like I said, I don't think that it's you know, totally good to be so exclusionary, but at the same time, it's like, it's not your culture. Why are you trying to? These are people trying to get together and celebrate their fathers and all the rest of it. They're not trying to lynch anybody, but they're trying to say, hey,
see that you keep it there.
Hey, we're Europeans, blah blah blah. Like, I love that shit, man. I just love it. I just love European culture, like that. And I don't want this to come off the wrong way, but we've received literally hundreds of pieces of gifts from people, but that thing that Kai gave, that book that Kai gave us, and like that to me is like, that's a real honor, you know, because he's,
I know,
you know what I mean, and to be able to share that with their, and like for you to like know this shit like top to bottom, I'm always proud of that, obviously. Good job, I'm very proud of you. But that to me was that's really honorable, man.
I think that there's a reason why our cultures are so big on stories, is because stories can stay in your mind and they go with you, and information is hard to retain. But like with that book, because it was a story, that's how I was able to remember. So I think that stories are very important for every culture, and yeah, I think that I agree with you. Like, it was an honor that you shared your culture with us, Kai. I mean,
no, that's everything, man. Because you're taking millions of people from thousands of years.
Yeah.
To produce a Kai, and then Kai saying, "Here's our people."
Yeah.
And boom. Like,
and then I took it, shared it with our kids.
Like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I love everything everybody has sent us, and I love people, and I'm always shocked when I open the mail. I'm like, wow, people are sending us. But like that, that's important. So anyway, shout out to the homie Kai. Shout out to Mike Kanoyer, Jake Roy, all those people.
Yeah.
Crazy stuff. It's a crazy world. And shout out to Jesus of Nazareth. Thank you for rising from the dead, homie. I love him a lot, bro. I love him a lot. Okay, what do you get the song?
10.
Yeah, I'm gonna give it 10, and it's a completely emotional vote, and blah. But I don't care.
Our emotions.
It's my channel. Start your own channel. It's actually too late to do that. Your channel won't go very far.
Oh my gosh, babe. Review. You're getting mean.
We should have that as a bite. Your channel.
It's too late.
Too late
to apologize.
Shout out to Marcos Tissantopoulos. Bro, I swear to God, I'm not trying to mock your name, but he's from Greece. Shout out to everybody. So we just did a live simulcast or whatever. So the people in here are watching us, and then there and all that. So it was pretty cool. It was Sori's idea. I think we need to be a little bit more. You know what? Put a poll up on Patreon and ask them if they'll be offended if we kind of combine it with audience reactions and see, because whatever. But we did want to give you a quality regular Vin and Sori reaction. I just don't want to ignore the people in the comment section or whatever. But anyway, thank you guys so much for hanging out. This song's a 10 for me, 10 for V. For Sori. Vin out.
Sori out.
Gone.
Hey villagers, this is Archero, and I'm inviting you to the Village March Madness Tournament. We're doing this as a fundraiser and to get together as a community and have a little bit of fun. If you're not familiar with March Madness, it is a 64-team college basketball tournament. The teams all play in single elimination round tournament style. Final winner is going to be the national champion. There's going to be a page set up on the ESPN website where you can make your guesses who's going to win each game. And we'll have a private group set up just for our village to compete against each other and see who predicted the winners best. To participate, it only costs $1. And all of that is going to go to help other villagers who are in need right now. This is all going to be happening in mid-March. More details are coming very soon about the dates, prizes, and how to join. I'll see you guys there. Keep it metal.